Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay, if you can hear me, okay, on this one.
That's okay.
The Course in Miracles, Earl Purdy. Course in Miracles, Earl Purdy. This is Course in Miracles with Earl Purdy. Course in Miracles with Earl Purdy. Course in Miracles with Earl Purdy. Can't hear, can't hear, can't hear.
Yes, now I can hear.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Sometimes it gets frustrating being brilliant. It just sometimes it's just so sometimes I just do dumb shit. Okay. Okay. Just to make myself feel normal.
That's what I do.
Do you do that? Yeah, like I could do better, but yeah, no, it gets boring. So okay, here we go. This is gonna really be a good one today. Yeah. So I want to commend those who are still hanging in there no matter what.
They're following.
Yeah, they follow with me wherever I go, and I appreciate that so much. I'm gonna delete that one. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're gonna be on page 215, the Holy Spirit's curriculum, the Loving Minds curriculum, the Judgment of the Holy Spirit. And I want you to take the word Holy Spirit and say loving right mind, and then take the word ego and think wrong-mindedness. Right-mindedness, wrong-mindedness. Ego is wrong-mindedness. Fear-mindedness. Holy Spirit is right-mindedness, love-mindedness. All right, you got it? So Holy Spirit's curriculum would be the right-minded curriculum, the curriculum of a right mind, the curriculum of a loving mind. Okay, so this is the way the Holy Spirit, this course says, this is what the Creator, this is what your higher mind is trying to teach you. Okay? And it says, this is the judgment of a loving right mind. Now, you probably don't have it. Okay, so do not beat yourself up because you haven't already achieved the skill that you're trying to learn how to achieve. I'll say it again. Readiness isn't mastery. Because you say you want to be more loving and forgiving doesn't mean you're really loving and forgiving. So when you hear about how a loving and forgiving mind operates, there's a temptation to make yourself feel bad because you're not doing it. But why would you be getting upset with yourself because you're not able to do something that you're trying to learn how to do already? So just admit that there's a part of you that may not know how to do unconditional love. And if you think you do, there are a lot of people who probably could tell you you're fooling yourself. Okay, it's called relationships. All right. Relationships keep you from being in denial about yourself. Because you'll tell yourself anything, and your partner tell you lying. So with your close friends. All your special relationships, you all supposed to keep each other kind of straight up with each other, right?
Right.
It says you have been told not to make error real. You've been told not to make your fears real. The way to do that, the way to do what? Not make your mistakes real. I'm about to tell you, according to the course, how you do not make your mistakes real. You don't have to believe it, you don't have to accept it, you don't have to welcome it. It says that. It's not about analyzing it. If you use this thought, you'll see that the thought is true. So he says, if you want to believe in error, if you want to believe in the mistake, if you want to believe in fear, think about the situation. He says, you would have to make it real because it's not true. The nature of a mistake is that it's not true. I'll say it again, that's not a deep thought.
No.
If it's an error, that means it's not correct. That's the nature of an error, right? So the Course in Miracles says, it's not real then because it's not true. But what's true is real in its own right. What does that mean? If it's true whether you believe it or not. If it's true, nobody cares if you believe it or not. You can say you don't believe in gravity, and you can jump off this building, and like I've said many times, you won't fall up. So your belief in gravity has nothing to do with the truth of it in this plane, in this realm. And I know there are other realms that gravity doesn't work in people that love it. I get it. But okay, in the regular realm that we're in, the regular person, when you jump off this building, you're not going to fall up.
No.
Regardless of any affirmations that you may make. Okay, so the Course is saying the truth is real in its own right, so to believe in the truth, you don't have to do anything. To believe in the truth, you don't have to do anything. To believe in the truth, you don't have to do anything. He says, understand what? that you don't respond to anything directly. Understand what? I'm not directly responding to you, and you're not directly responding to me. You may think you're responding to me, but you're not responding to me. He says, you are responding to your interpretation. You're responding to your interpretation of me right now, and I'm responding to my interpretation of you right now. Do you get it? Mm-hmm. You're not responding to me. You're responding to what you think about me. You're not responding to what I'm saying. You're responding to what the meaning you're giving to what I'm saying. So there is what you see, and your interpretation is between you and the other person. Between me and you is our interpret. You said something to me, I interpret it. Then I respond to my interpretation. Then I say something back to you, then you interpret it, and then you respond to your interpretation. So we're all always just talking to ourselves. When you walk away from this class, whatever you experience from this class is just your interpretation. That's it. You're not responding to what I'm saying. You be responding to what? Okay, now do some of y'all get some idea of the power of that statement? Okay, then it says your interpretation does what? It becomes the justification for your response. So I'm going to interpret what you're saying, and based on what I interpret, I'm going to respond. If I interpret you don't like me, I'm going to respond like you don't like me. If I interpreted that you like me, I'm going to respond like you like me. My interpretation is going to determine what? My response. So whatever's going on in your life right now, you're responding to your interpretation of it and not the situation. I don't care what your financial situation is, you're not responding to your financial situation, you're responding to your interpretation of it. No matter what's happening in your love life, your sex life, your career, your spiritual life, the only thing you're responding to is the meaning you're giving it. That is the key to happiness, folk. I just gave you the key to happiness. If it's my interpretation that's determining how I'm responding, then all I have to do is learn interpretations and meanings that make me feel good. And I'll be happy all day.
That's right.
Oh, I lost my job. Oh, some new opportunities coming my way.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just lost my job. Oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills?
Yeah.
Same thing happened, two interpretations. And so the wrong interpretation said, when I get my new job, I'll feel happy again. Right interpretation is, I need to change the way I'm looking at losing my job so that I won't lose my happiness and peace. Why? Because if I don't lose my happiness and peace, then I can hear my higher power telling me where to go for the next one or whatever I need to know. Then I can get the guidance about how to deal with the situation. And if you tell yourself you're doing that but you didn't get the result, you're just practicing doing that. You haven't done it yet because it's impossible to do what it says and not get the result it promises. So there's no such thing as I'm doing this right and nothing's going right for me. The mere fact that you're saying nothing's going right for me is the proof you're not doing it right. Because if you're doing it right, you wouldn't be saying nothing is going right for me.
Right.
Because the correct perception would be, I don't perceive my own best interest in this situation. I don't really know what this is for. And you ask for the Holy Spirit's guidance on it. That would be the right perception. So even if I'm upset, that means I'm not using correct perception. And if I get upset about being upset, I'm not using correct perception. Because it's okay to be upset if you feel upset. Because nothing's condemning you for feeling upset and nothing's going to punish you for being upset. There's no need for anything to punish you about being upset because you are already punishing yourself, so there's no need for anybody else to. And you are more committed and dedicated to your punishment than anybody else around you. Nobody else thinks about you as much as you do. We'll throw it open in a minute. He says, your interpretation thus becomes what? The justification for the response. That's why, what's why? That's why analyzing the motives of others is hazardous to you. Analyzing what somebody else, where somebody else is coming from is hazardous to you. Me trying to analyze you all's motives that's dangerous for me. Why? He says, because if you decide that somebody's really trying to attack you, if you really decide somebody's trying to hurt you or desert you, if you really decide someone's trying to enslave you, you're going to respond as if they've actually done it.
Right.
If I think you're trying to hurt me, I'm going to respond like you tried to hurt me. If I think that you have deserted me, I'm going to respond like you've deserted me. And then I would make your error real to me. Because I'm the one thinking that you've done these things, and then I'm going to make it real to me. Because you got to understand, your error, all of you all's error, is you're not doing what I want you to do the way I want you to do it all the time. That's all of you all's error. And that you're doing to me whatever I think you're doing to me. And how you feel about me is the way I think you feel about me. That is your error. You're not doing what I want you to do the way I want you to do it. That is your sin. That is your crime, and that is why I'm going through therapy. Because you aren't supporting me the way I think I should be supported. The interpretations I have of life, you're not living up to it. And that is why me analyzing your motives is hazardous to me. Wow. Wow. This is really hard book to understand, isn't it? Yeah. I can't read this. It's too difficult. To interpret error is to give it power. So if I'm interpreting what I think you've done to me, if I'm trying to interpret your fear, if I'm trying to interpret you, whatever that interpretation, to interpret the error is going to give it power. If I spend my time trying to figure out where all of my fear and anger and guilt and separation around you is coming from, me giving it all that attention is giving it more power. Now, the way that I am sharing the course with you is the way it's coming through me. If it was coming through somebody else, it would be different sounding. Y'all get what I'm saying? So I'm not saying what's coming through me is the only way to look at it. It's not. It's the way it's coming through me to look at it. All right, so that means that other people give you interpretations of the same things that are equally valid, but would be coming from a different angle, and you be going, wow. That's why I love to hear what people think. It's because I get a chance to get another perspective of this same fist. Right? Everybody's looking at it different, but it's the same fist. So you could tell me what's on this side of the fist that I can't see. And that's what a relationship is. It should be something that's helping you get in touch with parts of yourself that you can't see. And those parts of yourself that you can't see that may be creating pain and guilt for you, the purpose of the relationship is to help you release that, get rid of that, let that go. The purpose of a relationship isn't to get with somebody that's constantly pointing out your flaws. You do that better than they do. The purpose of it is to help them, is to help you remember that who you are is beautiful and sinless and guiltless. That you are not the thing you think you are when you don't like yourself. You don't need somebody to tell you, I'm really that way. I feel like I'm no good. You aren't. It's about time you realize that. I'm trying to tell you that for years. You're a selfish little something. I'm your holy relationship. No, baby, you're my helly relationship. Anybody ever had a healthy relationship instead of a holy? All right. I have, because there were periods in my life that I felt like I needed to be punished because I didn't think I deserved complete love. So I made sure I formed relationships with people who kept me feeling bad about myself so that I could have the witness to what I believed about myself anyway being proved to me. So what do I need to forgive them for?
They did what you wanted them to
They did what I wanted them to do.
Right.
Man, I wanted them to do it so bad, I wouldn't even leave them. I wanted them to hurt me so bad, I wouldn't even leave them. Okay, any questions about that paragraph? Take about 5 minutes for any comments or questions or whatever, because I want to make sure this is a deep section. As you can tell, it started out intense. Any thoughts?
It's so powerful that my natural response almost always with people, especially with new people, is to try to figure out their motives. And so this paragraph basically says my auto response is to hurt myself.
That's the auto response.
Yeah.
It is so powerful to realize that we do not respond to anything but our interpretations.
Speak aloud so everybody can hear it.
It is so very important for me to realize that power of realizing that I do not respond to anything but my interpretation.
Yeah.
So then I can change exactly what I want to see.
Right.
And that's what I meant. That's the secret to happiness. If my happiness is coming from the meanings I'm giving things, if I could just learn how to look at things in a different way, then I could be happy all the time, regardless of my material circumstances.
That's right.
That's what I want. And I would stay below my credit limit.
Good luck with that, man. Good luck.
Take a miracle for that, wouldn't it? That's why I'm studying this book. That's why I'm reading this book right here.
I've been trying, man.
Yeah. I got a credit score I know is a miracle. 800 what? What? That's the Holy Spirit.
That is the Holy Spirit. Literally.
It is the Holy Spirit. That's all. Totally. Oh, yes, my darling.
I was just gonna say that, what's interesting to me is that anything that's true doesn't need interpretation, because if anything that's true, I don't need to do anything. To believe in truth, I do not have to do anything. And then it's saying that, after that, anything I respond to, I'm not responding directly, because it's always through an interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to remember, the fact that we are love, the fact that we are eternal, the fact that we are not bodies, those things, to believe in the truth isn't up for interpretation, but all the things, of this world, and, believing I'm a body, and all of those things are up for my interpretation.
Thank God.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. If I'm loved, you all can't stop me from loving you if I want to, right? You don't really have any control over that whatsoever. And you could believe you're unlovable, but it still doesn't have to stop me from loving you. So whatever is real regardless of your interpretation of it. That's good news.
Yeah.
See, to me, that's good news. That what's true about me, nothing that I think about me can change that, and nothing that anybody else thinks about me can change that, if it's the truth. But what's not the truth, is, like you said, is up for interpretation.
Yes.
Rhonda.
Well, and it's also regardless of anybody else's actions, right? So if you truly love them, no matter how they're acting, that shouldn't change how you, if you really love them, how you feel about them.
Right. And if it does change the way you feel about them, it still hasn't stopped them from being loved and still being loved. And that's the good thing about it, is that regardless of what I think about you, it's not going to change what you are. Right? So that should make you feel more innocent right now about any time you ever cursed anybody out.
Oh, that's important.
Right? Oh, you had any judgments about it? You should be, if you're hearing me correctly today, it should be making you feel better.
Yeah.
It should be making you feel like there's a possibility you could feel better, because your most dastardly words that you feel so much guilt about, that you haven't forgiven yourself about since you were really maybe even much younger, those words had absolutely no effect on the truth of the person you were talking about, and they had no effect on the truth of who you are, but it definitely had an effect on how you saw yourself and how you saw them. That's it. It's just having an effect on how you see them and how you see yourself. But nothing we are doing in here has any effect on the fact that we are loved, loving, and lovable. That's just the way it is. You can point out all the stuff you think you've done and say you don't deserve love. That's just the meaning you're giving that keeps you responding in an unhappy way. See what I'm saying? You're responding to what you're calling yourself. Don't make it true. Don't make it true. But if you really want those unloving thoughts to be true, you will seek out relationships that mirror that back to you. And so all you should do then is just make the decision that you want to have that block to love removed. And still don't beat yourself up. They're just making you aware of something in yourself you need to change your mind about. You're still innocent. You're still beautiful. If you want people not to bother you and to get out of your life who really are not very kind and loving, I'm going to tell you the secret. How to get rid of people. Be loving. You want to see some people run like roaches when you turn on a light in the room? Be loving, be kind, be understanding, take responsibility, treat them like they're valuable. If they don't believe themselves about, they're going to do two things. They're going to get out of your experience some kind of way, or they're going to put you in the friend zone. Either way, you win.
You win.
You win. It's better to be the friend of that person than the special partner of that person. If they want to put the loving person in the friend zone, and the person that's so hard and not giving them what they want a lot of times in the special zone. It's very interesting. So I can tell what I want to learn about myself by who I choose to enter intimate relationships with.
There you go.
That's what will tell me what I think about myself. And if you're loving, you'll be safe, because people who are unsafe aren't attracted to safe people. They're attracted to unsafe people. So you get a chance to say you're kind, you would have been willing to help them if they had stuck around. So you get a chance to think you're kind and you didn't have to do nothing for nobody. Because they gone. It's great. It's a fail-safe system.
Yeah.
I love this system. You can't lose with this.
It's true.
Love's gonna get to you no matter how hard you try. It's gonna get to you.
All
It's
right.
gonna get to you.
Amen.
I'm with one more person. Anybody? That was one paragraph. But if you walked out of here with this one paragraph, it would change your life. If you walked out of here today and you said, okay, I am responding to my interpretations. I don't remember anything else about this class. So the next time I'm mad, I need to remember that I'm responding to my interpretation.
Right.
Then you would have won today. Then it says, the analysis of ego motivation, the analysis of someone else's motivation, the analysis of a fearful mind's motivation, I'm giving you all these definitions of ego, he says, is very complicated, very obscuring, and actually never without your own ego involvement. So you can only analyze my ego with your ego.
With your ego.
You can only analyze the fear in me through the fear in you. You can only analyze the guilt in me through the guilt in you. So it's only the ego that analyzes anybody else's ego.
Okay.
So now we know you couldn't be, that you're not different from anything you are criticizing. Because you can only see it through the part of you that was just like that. I used to believe I could be the loving person looking at the crappy people. But through my loving mind. And this book was saying, no, actually the analysis of the ego motivation really involves your own ego. And that means the whole process represents a clear-cut attempt to demonstrate, of course it's saying, you know what y'all trying to demonstrate all the time when you're trying to interpret everybody else's motivation? You're trying to demonstrate your ability to understand what you see. He said, y'all are trying to convince yourselves that you have the ability to understand what you're looking at. He said, you're judging everything and giving it your interpretation and meanings as a way of making you believe that you have the ability to understand things. And so when you give it your meaning, do you know that's when you think you understand it? Isn't that true? We think we understand things the ones we've given it our interpretations. And that's what he's saying. That everybody is trying their best to prove to themselves that they can understand what they see. And it says, this is shown by the fact that you react to your interpretations as if they were correct. You act like, you respond to your way of looking at things like that's correct because you're trying to prove to yourself that you have the ability to understand something. So as long as you think you want to, as long as you think you need to understand something, you're going to hang on to judgment.
Or be right.
Because I'm only trying to prove to myself that I understand it, so then I judge it, to show that I understood it. If my understanding wasn't necessary, my judgments also wouldn't be necessary. And I could just be told what to do instead of having to figure it out through judgment. So don't think you have to understand things in order for your life to work. Ultimately, in order for your life to work, you have to learn how to follow guidance.
Yes, indeed.
So that you can have things beyond what you understand, and it's better than you ever could have made it be through your understanding. If you want something better than you can imagine, then you have to be willing not to understand everything. Because your desire to understand is going to make you give it your judgments and your interpretations, and that's what you're going to respond to, and they may not be correct at all. So you really are blocking your good. You know, I was asking God what I was doing wrong. I didn't think God was going to tell me. And I'd be damned if I thought it was going to be everything I'm doing. I just wanted God to show me how I could stay exactly the way I am without the suffering it entails. That's what I'm in this class for. Tell me how I can stay exactly the way I am, but don't go through any of the stuff I go through being the way I am. If you can do that, you're a good teacher. If you can tell me who else needs to change in order for me to be happy and how they need to change, then you're a good teacher. Because I can go home and tell my partner what he said you needed to do.
That's called a therapist.
Then of course we use our mind to come up with everything that needs to change but our mind. I think that's so fun, that's the truth. I'm using my mind to figure out how everybody else needs to change.
Yeah.
I'm not using my mind to focus on how I need to change. I'm using my mind to focus on how you need to change. The weather needs to change. Denver needs to change. The rent situation, it does. It needs to change.
For real, for real.
For real. That's real. Let's get real. That needs to change. Okay. He says, and once you react to your interpretations, and if they are correct, he says, then you try to control the way you behave. You try to control your reactions. You try to control, I think you don't like me, but I'm not going to behave like I think you don't like me. You know, I'm going to control my behavior. Even though I have an interpretation of you that you don't like me, I'm going to behave like that's not bothering me. In other words, I'm going to come up with a behavior that's not necessarily a true reflection of how I'm feeling about you. Anybody ever done that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to see if there's anybody in that much denial in this room. That was going to be scary. That's why the Course says, read me slowly. And it also says we got into hell and fear because we remember not to laugh, and that's why I try not to get too serious with you all. Because he said that's how we got here in the first place. We forgot to laugh.
Yeah.
You know, and so sometimes when people are in a spiritual class and it's levity and lightness, there's a tendency of the ego to think it's not a valuable, powerful class.
Right.
Because the ego, it says, the Course is the part of us that values complexity and certainly no joy. So this class is supposed to be like 10 bricks in your butt, you know. It's black man's class. Lord been knowing me a long time. Even after all these years, she'll go under her breath. Jesus. I saw what you just did. I said, Jesus. You've been doing that since 2008. I know who my real friends are. They still around. Of course, some people gonna learn as much as they can from you. That's the same as saying they can only stand you for so long. That's the paraphrase. Then y'all appear to separate. You know. So if you're a serious Course student, I am wrong for you. Okay. Okay. Because it's too intense not to laugh sometimes. And like he says here, he says, now when you behave opposite to the way you feel, when you may control your reactions behaviorally, but how not emotionally, he says, this would obviously be a split or an attack on the integrity of your mind. Mm-hmm. So what is a split on an attack on the oneness of your mind, the integrity of your mind? He says pitting one level within it against another. So how are you pitting one level of yourself against the other? You are behaving differently from the way you feel. Mm-hmm. That's splitting your mind. Mm-hmm. That's attacking your integrity. Right. That's being inauthentic. Right. Yeah. Are there any areas in your life that you know you're being inauthentic? That know the way you're behaving a lot of times is not the way you feel. Anybody sometime raise your hand, please. Yeah. Come on. Okay, now if you look around and you see other people's hands up, you know what happens? It makes you feel more innocent. Right. That's why don't act like it's not true for you. Be willing to admit if it's true for you, because then all of us feel more innocent and we're more willing to be open and to move on if we feel like we're not alone in what we're going through. Mm-hmm. It's not to our advantage to act like you're more spiritual than you are. We need to hear how crappy you can be. I need to know. Anybody here, can you be crappy sometime? Yay! Well, I'm special. I'm more crappy than you are. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win no matter what.
No way.
I'm gonna win. So, that was paragraph 2. It's only your ego that can be analyzing somebody else's ego. You're trying to demonstrate you understand what you see. Then you react as if the way you're seeing it is correct. And then sometimes you behave totally different from the way that you are feeling. And that's a split. That's an attack on your own mind. And of course, that's not going to give you any peace.
Right.
So even if you don't lie to yourself, even if you lie to somebody else. Sometimes when you get on a true path, you start lying to yourself. You know you're upset about something, and you'll be telling yourself you're not upset, and nobody even know it. It's just you. Y'all ever done that? You'll be like, I'm really mad right now, but I'm telling myself I'm not really mad right now. But you can be honest with yourself, and nobody's listening to
Right.
you. You can actually just say how you feel to you. Even if you weren't going to hide it from me, don't hide it from you.
But God might hear.
God might hear. Well, of course, thank God says God is so loving that God gives our thoughts no meaning.
It means
It
nothing.
means nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing you all, that's what get the person last week. Nothing you see means anything. You could just change to nothing you think means anything until some meaning is given it. So, again, stop feeling guilty about things that you thought and said that seemed unloving.
That's right.
If it wasn't loving, it has no true, real meaning. It has no true, real value. It can only affect the way you feel if you let it. Right? It's what I'm telling myself that's causing my feelings. It's what you're telling yourself that's causing your feelings. It's what you're telling yourself about what's happening in your life right now that's causing your pain. It's not what's happening in your life that's causing you pain. It's what you're telling yourself. It's the meaning you're giving it. Because you're trying to understand the situation. It'd be better to go, I don't understand my financial situation. I don't understand my kid. Y'all know that's the truth.
Yep.
Parents play Youth Scores and Miracles lessons all the time. I don't understand that crazy child. Parents be practicing the course. The Course in Miracles is saying to us, there is but one interpretation of motivation that makes any sense. There's just one interpretation of another person's motivation that makes any sense. There is but how many? One. How many? One. Now, suppose I told you, I wanted y'all to remember 102 interpretations. The ego would love it.
Yes.
It would be ready to get his notebook out and write them all out and categorize them and set it in a microcorder. And the ego loves complexity. Because see, remembering 102 interpretations, that takes a lot of work. And so it's I'm justified as to why it's taking so long to do it. It's so much to remember, and I'm too busy, so I can't focus in. But somebody go, I just want you to remember one thing. Oh my God, what excuse do I have now? What excuse do I have now? You just told me I only need to remember one thing, one interpretation of motivation. He says, and it's the one interpretation that what? Makes any sense. This is a conversation. It's not a book like people think of books. This is a conversation between the Jesus of the Course and you. And when you read it like it's a really long letter, I mean, long letter. Then you listen to it the way you would if you were reading a letter. You're not analyzing every sentence in a letter when you get one. You just read it to see what they say. Do that with the Course. Do that with the Course. It's like somebody, let me give you an example. But that's just one interpretation of motivation that makes any sense, y'all. And because it's the Holy Spirit's judgment, because it's the truth judgment, it requires what? No effort at all on your part. God knows we're so lazy that he gives us a plan that doesn't require any effort at all on our part. That's how I know God loves us. Even if you don't want to do nothing, he's got a plan for you. She's got a plan for you. I'm going to give you a plan that involves no effort. Notice that didn't exactly thrill everybody in the room. Right? That didn't exactly make everybody. You think we go, no effort, no effort. That's what I do anyway. I can really feel innocent because I really don't give this no effort anyway. I'm a good student. Why? Because I haven't been giving this any effort. I'm a great core student. Then it says it right here. At all on your part. And then the next sentence says, it says, this is the judgment. It's a game show. This is the judgment, this is the judgment, this is the judgment. Here comes the judgment, here comes the judgment. Everybody get ready, because here comes the judgment. Every loving thought is true. Everything else is an appeal for healing and help, regardless of the form it takes. Every loving thought is true. Everything else is an appeal for healing and help, regardless of the form it takes. Now, who can tell me what's the one interpretation that you have to have in order to be absolutely making an interpretation of what's happening in your life that makes sense?
How to love or conflict.
Every loving thought is true.
Right.
Now, notice I said that really loud, didn't I?
Everything else is an appeal.
Everything else is an appeal or call for healing and help. You mean my kid, because you can, okay, this is what's so cool about it. I can tell everybody in here to give me the thing that they're upset about. I wouldn't be the least challenged about how to answer it. Because I know the answer would be the same, no matter what y'all said the problem was.
That's right.
So I would just be able to take on every class. Just try me. Just give me one problem you think you have and see if I can't give you the interpretation of it that makes any sense. Didn't mean you like it. Didn't mean you agree with it. Didn't mean that you might really, really want to hear it. I said I can give you the correct interpretation. I can give you the correct answer. And since it applies to no matter what you're going through or anything you see, he says that's the one interpretation. That is the one interpretation of motivation that makes any sense because it's love's judgment. Now that's the key. It's love's judgment. Love's judgment is, I don't care what you think you did. It was loving or call for healing or call. That's all you did last night. No matter what you think you did. No matter what you think you're going through. No matter what you're beating yourself up about. I'm love. And I just see it as a call for me. A call for love. That's all I see. I don't care what it is. So therefore, I don't even care what you've done. You can tell me what you've done or you can not tell me what you've done. Because it doesn't make any difference whether you tell me what you're feeling guilty about. Because that would presuppose there was an option for me not to forgive you. That's why you feel like you got to tell me what you did last night. Because you think it's a possibility I might not see it as a call for love. Instead of a call for a club. Oh, it's a call for club. That's the ego's interpretation. That's fear's interpretation. And so the court says, can anyone be justified in responding with anger to another person's call for help? I'm upset with you about that, but you really were calling for love. You were really calling for help. Why would I be upset if you were just calling for help? As a matter of fact, it says, and it's on, that's, no response can be appropriate except a willingness to give it to them. For this and only this is what the person is asking for. They're asking for help. They're asking for healing. It may come in the form of them cussing you out, lying to you, deceiving you, doing something you think that you didn't like, He says, but whatever it is, it's a call for love, it's a call for healing, and it's a call for help, and that's the way love sees it. So that made me aware that I don't know how to love yet. Because I don't see everything that everybody does as a call for love, a call for healing, and a call for help. Do you? Then that means that you should not be upset when everybody don't see yours that way. And they don't come rushing to your assistance. They're just like you. Sometimes they see calls for love and calls for help that they feel like meeting, and they see it. And then some they don't see as a call for help at all. And that's why you experience that. Because everybody's just like you. Except I don't want it to be that way for me. I don't care how crap I am. I want y'all to see it as a call for love. But when you do it, hang you from the highest tree. Let's go down to the mall, put you up there at the top of them buildings on Denver. That's Earl hanging off that building. You know how we are about somebody else, punish them.
Yes.
But then when we make a mistake, we go, I hope the judge will overlook the fact that I was going 90 in the 20 zone. You see, we'll be wanting the compassion, right? You know, thank God love don't love like we do.
Yeah.
Thank God that God, our Creator, she doesn't do it like we do it.
Amen.
Wow. Wow, I'm so glad that there's something that loves me beyond how I love me. And there's something that wants to help me and take care of me regardless of how I feel about me, regardless of how many, that is not based on that kind of love where somebody ain't going to give it to me unless I act the way they want them. They want me to, then they're going to give me love. Thank God there's a love that's beyond that level of love. You can never feel confident if you're afraid of losing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad we've been saved.
Me too.
You know, we've been saved. What does that mean? You've been given the way out.
Yes.
Now, whether you take it or not, you know, it's like you're like a prisoner in a jail cell, in a deserted prison, where all the guards are gone, the jail cell is open, weeds are all over the courtyard, and you're sitting in your bunk waiting for somebody to let you out. Nobody's coming to support me. You're not locked up. Because I gave you what? Another interpretation that will free you.
Right.
And you don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe it's a call for love. You don't even have to may not necessarily be the one that's supposed to physically answer it. Your job is to learn how to see it that way. Just start there. Even if you're not going to do a doggone thing, you just at least see it that way. That's what the Spirit is telling you. Because that's a sign of your willingness to have it in your own life. Woo! 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 I'm almost in this paragraph, and I'll let y'all out of prison.
We're out.
I'm going to pardon you. Oh my God, let me get out of here and get to my hell relationship quick. But that's not true. Some of y'all can't wait to get to the arms of the special ones. You just can't get enough of each other right now. I tell you put mustard on each other and eat each other if you could. Don't you like it in the beginning? Ain't it good? Come on, y'all. Y'all know. Ain't it good?
Honeymoon phase.
You being so opposite to how you really are, right? It's so funny. I call it the preview of coming attractions. You see how sane and loving and affectionate I'm being with you right now? And how you cannot do anything wrong, and my interpretation of you is that you are a goddess. Do you see that? You know, we just can't do enough. We just love everything. You just, if I pick my toes at the table, you say it's cute. You know, we in that honeymoon stage, there's nothing we can say. You know what I'm saying? And then you see them 6 months later, and that person put their foot up on the table, they want to chop it off with an axe. But why? Because you all saw the way it was going to be when you were sane. That you really are going to be forgiving. That you really are going to be totally accepting. You really are going to say, baby, the only thing, this will be a friend as well as a lover. You're saying, hey, I see your call for help. I see your call for love. I see your call for healing. So if you didn't have that attraction where you were treating each other that way at first, you wouldn't get in the lesson. If they started out the way they actually are, you wouldn't have went out with them. You can tell when somebody recognizes it. I know, that's what you do. I'm only happy when I'm here. Mr. Lawler's return. I'm nothing like this when I'm not here. It's the most fun I have almost. Give that whatever meaning y'all want. We are. And I know it's the right meaning by how much you smile. When you're frowning at me, I know you're giving the wrong meaning. See? But if everybody's smiling like most of you are, I go, okay, they heard me correctly. Yeah, that's how you can tell. Joy is forgiveness. If I look like I can't get enough of you, there's a possibility you're not guilty of hurting me in any way. Right? So the best thing you can do to show everybody around you that you've forgiven them and that you see them as innocent is how much fun and joy you allow yourself to have. If you party like a big dog, it's hard to make yourself believe that you hurt somebody and that you didn't hurt me. How do you know you didn't hurt me? Do I seem happy? Then you're a forgiver.
Right? That's true.
But somebody who doesn't forgive and never has forgiven and still holding on to grievances, then they want to look sad all the time to show everybody what they've done to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't afford, even if I want to be happy, I can't. I got to show you how crappy you are. Look at me. look at that now. I'm in a relationship with you now. Look at So I'm using my condition to make you feel guilty. To show you what you did to me. So sometimes, and you've seen people like that, right? It's like they be like, acting like you would kill them and they're unhappy, they live, and they spoke to you in 6 months, then somebody called them on the phone and they go, yeah, girl, what's happening? Completely lose all that anger and up, yeah, I will see you next week. Yeah, we got to get together. Then they hang so they get back to crucifying you. It's like the Uber of crucifixion. I want a little crucifixion. I want somebody to make me feel guilty, you know what I'm saying? Have your own Uber business. The guilt Uber. People need guilt, they call you. Stop laughing and you'll live longer. You'll have less disease, more prosperity, more joy. Stop being happy. That's just great. So anyway, if you offer that person anything else other than seeing it as love or call for love and being willing to give them the help, you're assuming the right to attack their reality, which is their calling for help, by interpreting their reality as you see it, which is they're not calling for help. He says, perhaps the danger of you seeing it the way you interpret it, I love this, perhaps the danger of this to your own mind is not yet fully apparent. Whew. Whew. Offer him anything else and you are assuming the right to attack that person's reality by interpreting their reality, and their reality is what? They're calling for help, and you seeing it as something else. You interpreting it as you see fit. Perhaps the danger of this to your own mind is not yet fully apparent. If you believe that a call for help, if you believe that a call for help, if you believe that a call for love is something else, them trying to get me, something they're doing to me, look at the horrible thing they did to me, look at what's going on, look what happened to me. If you see it as anything other than a call for help, you're going to react to the thing you think it is other than a call for help. If I see it as you trying to attack me, that's what I'm going to respond to, and not the idea that what you're doing is a call for help. He says, therefore, your response will therefore be inappropriate to reality. Because in reality, all you've seen in this world is love or a call for help. Love or a call for help. Love or our government is a call for help. The racial situation, call for help. The economic situation, call for help. Climate change, call for help. That's what if you see it anything other than that, you're going to react inappropriately because you are not responding to the reality as it is. You're just responding to what? Your perception of it. So you are only doing what? Responding to your perception of it. What are you doing all day? Responding to your perception of it. And you can fill in the blank. What are you doing all day? You're responding to your perception of it. And perception means interpretation. So you could say, I'm responding to my interpretation of it. I'm responding to my interpretation of my boss, my child, my body, my health, my spiritual development. You could go, if you want to see correct all day long, say whatever you say, see whatever you say, and then go, I'm responding to my perception of it. And you will use that thing to empower you and move you toward peace. So thank you for hearing that much today. I kind of see why it was messing up at first. Because a person could just listen to this one class and it could change their life.
Yep.
If they just let themselves listen to this one class over and over again. Thank you, those of you who would like to share with me. Thank you for sharing with me. Thank you so much for sharing with me. If you'd like to share with me, Earl Purdy, just go to www.earlpurdy.com and you can share with me there. And also you can use Venmo, and my email address is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. I've been having fantastic personal one-on-one sessions with people that I've been seeing results, and we've been seeing results that have been blowing our minds. They're called clarity sessions. If you'd like to have one, I want to find out more about it, go to my website and look under the clarity sessions tab, and you can self-book a time right there. Thursdays at 7 o'clock p.m. in Mountain Time on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook. I do hardcore Course in Miracles. I call it hardcore because we get down in the book even deeper. It's for people who want to really learn the course. They made that decision, and anybody else can watch. And then on Sundays, we have a Course in Miracles, and I do it in front of mostly a live audience.
Some of us are dead. And just on the Earl Purdy page. And please share these videos. It's like, the more you hear it, the more you'll see it. The more, I'm telling you, you want that difference? It's there. It's there. All right. Take a breath. Let me say 1 minute and we'll be able to. Think about something that's going on in your life right now that you know you're giving it a meaning that really seems to upset you. There's just one interpretation of motivation that makes any sense. And because it is love's judgment, it requires no effort at all on your part. Every loving thought is true. Everything else is a call for help. Every loving thought is true. Everything else
is a call for help. Stop responding to your interpretations as if your interpretations are necessarily true. If you want to stop being hurt and limited by your own interpretations and judgments, this is what you do. Recognize that your understanding is not a powerful contribution to the truth. It's your understanding of something doesn't make it true or make it false. Your understanding of something doesn't make it true or make it false. So even if you don't feel like it's true, tell yourself, every loving thought is true, everything else is a call for love, a call for help, a call for healing. I may not necessarily feel that way, but it's still true. I'm responding to my own interpretation. So I want to say, I give everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. I give everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. I give everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. I give everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. I give everything I see all the meaning it has for me. I love y'all. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for having me remember. Thank you for your patience online, my mighty companions. It was just a big old call for love. That was what was going on. Hugs are available if you like one.
Earl, you're speaking twice next week.
I'm speaking at the 11 o'clock service next week as well as my class at 1 o'clock. If you like a double hitter. Thank you, Sunshine.
Come to both of them.
Share this
We
video.
have a little lunch and everything.